Okay, so these questions here are just asking for us to solve for x, which just means we need to do some distribution. So here we have our equal sign here. So we know whatever's on the left-hand side is equivalent to whatever's on the right-hand side given a particular x. So what we typically do is we start by distributing, because we can't evaluate x plus 1, those aren't like terms. So when we distribute, we get negative 4 times x, and then we're adding negative 4 times positive 1, which would give us negative 4. If we were to write this more simply, we would just write minus 4. And here we continue on with our equation, minus 3 is equal to, and here we have to distribute as well. So we get negative 3x, and if you take the negative of a negative, so for example, negative 3 times negative 4, you get a positive value. Okay, let's combine like terms on the left-hand side. Now, one thing I get a lot from my geometry students even is they're not quite sure what to add or subtract from both sides. So typically I want my x value to be positive. Notice that if I added 3x to both sides, my x value would be negative. I have negative x, because negative 4x plus 3x is negative x. So instead I'm going to add 4x to both sides. This is a good start. I get negative 7, since this cancels, and then this gives me positive x, positive 1x, and this does not combine with 12 because it is not a like term. Finally, I'm going to move to the right now. I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. So negative 7 minus 12 is an even bigger negative number. That is negative 19. Okay, because again, this cancels. Cool. So this is what we end up with. X equals negative 19. If we take this value and we plug it in to the original equation here and here, the statement should be true. Both sides, the left and the right side, should be equal to each other. So that's a good way to check. Plug your value back in if you have time to do so. Same thing is done in this question. Here, this is a little bit more complex because while I could distribute the 2/3 to both my x value and my negative 4 here, there's another thing I can do. By the multiplication property of equality, I can multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 2/3. Because what this does is it cancels out. This ends up being 1 over 1, which is just 1. So all I have on the left-hand side here is x minus 4. Now on the right-hand side, I have 3/2 times 2x. And what you'll notice is, if you did multiply this out, so it would go into the numerator, you would notice that this simplifies to 3x. I can see that clearly right here. This is 1, so I just have 3 times 1x, which is 3x. So I get x minus 4 equals 3x. And again, I want to keep my x value positive, so I'm going to subtract the x from the left-hand side, which means I have to do it to the right-hand side. So I get negative 4 equals 2x. If you divide both sides by 2, you get x equals negative 2. It's a fundamental idea there. try it with this one. So pause the video and then come back to it once you're done finding your solution. Now the reason I can multiply by the reciprocal is because we're taking 2/5 of this entire quantity, which means we can multiply the whole thing by its reciprocal. If it were something like 2/5 x plus 7, I would not be able to multiply this whole thing by the reciprocal. Well, I could, but it wouldn't help. It wouldn't give me something nice. So here I go, multiplying both sides by the reciprocal. This cancels, like I explained, so all we have left is what's in the parentheses. On this side, though, we get 5 halves times 4x. And again, there's some simplification here. 4 divided by 2 is just 2, so we get 5 times 2x. You could have done this by going 5 halves times 4x is the same as 5 times 4x here, and then you'd get 20x divided by 2, which you can tell from there, right, that you get 10x. Okay, this is just a bit of a shortcut. We continue on. I want to subtract x from both sides so that I have a positive x on the right hand side. In particular, I have positive 9x, and on the left hand side I have negative 2. If I divide both sides by 9, I get x is equal to negative 2/9.